game. It's a rich thing.
Live tonight from the virtual Nashville Fairground Speedway, we say good evening, race fans, and welcome to the eRacing Association Omega Cup Winter Bowl Finals. We're just outside of the Music City. We're happy to have you with us here on RaceSpot TV. We're alongside Chase Rodwood. My name is Evan Pasoko and Tyler Maxon and our entire RaceSpot TV team downstairs. And Chase, we got through a wild night of qualifying last night where we started with more than 600 different drivers competing in 26 different qualifier races. But tonight, the top 52 get set to do battle for $10,000 on the line.
Yeah, and I think the exact number was over 640 entries, and as you mentioned, whittled it down to just 50 drivers here tonight. They're about to qualify here in a few moments, and here are the finalists right there on your screen. A couple of those names, if you are familiar with eNASCAR and iRacing, you might see some of those names and think, wow, I know those guys from some past broadcasts that I've seen. But there's also guys on there, Evan, that, you know, maybe don't really have that much recognition, haven't been on the big stage, but here they are battling for $7,500 to win tonight.
Yeah, we talked about that last night, how anybody could enter into this, but certainly with it only being the top two of all of those qualifier races making it in, that cream does rise to the top. But of course, racing once more at the virtual Nashville Fairground Speedway. Been so long since we've seen NASCAR Cup Series action here, but reimagined on the iRacing service. Tonight's race very different than what you saw last time out. We'll go racing for 150 laps tonight around the 0.565 miles speedway, banking 18 degrees in the corners. And if those races last night were any indication, it could be a rough and tough of night. I'm sure track action could benefit the drivers who keep it calm and really just keep it in one piece, Nashville's certainly a bull ring.
And you got to remember, Evan, this thing is 150 laps long. You got to be there at the end if you want to take home some of that prize money here tonight. As we mentioned, $7,500 to win a single race. No, this is not a championship, not a 4-race series. This is one single race pays that amount of money. And we come here to Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Some of the races we saw last night, man, it was so good. Cars all over the racetrack trying different lines, and I cannot wait to see who comes out on top tonight and how excited they are when we get to interview them.
Well, let's talk about tonight's format. Of course, we mentioned the qualifiers. We mentioned the main event. Well, yesterday we had those 25-lap heats. The top 2 from each moved into this evening, and we look like 51 of the possible 52 drivers are here. So right now, they're enjoying open practice at the top of the hour. We will transfer to qualifying, though. It will be single car qualifying, 2 timed laps, and we'll whittle the field down even more. Only the top 40 then will actually make it to that feature race a little bit later on this evening. So step number 1 was qualifying into the main event here tonight on Wednesday. All these drivers have done so. But I would argue that make or break Q chase on your own might be more nerve-wracking than the heats and qualifiers these guys went through last night. Making that top 40 is going to be awfully tight. I'm expecting some razor-thin margins through the Q charts.
Yeah, you cannot make a mistake here tonight on one of those 2 qualifying laps, and if you do, you will not be racing in this feature here tonight. So I think you're right. I think the nerves are really going to be on these guys when they get on the racetrack for qualifying. After that, they can kind of take a breath and think, okay, I got 150 laps to try and make my way to the front. I can play this slow, and as the night progresses, I can start to pick up the pace. But here we go, man. Look at the prize. This is what everybody's here for tonight. There was no entry for any of the 640 competitors to get into this race here tonight there, Evan. But look at that payout. $7,500 to win, $1,000 for second, $750 for third, $500 for fourth, and $250 for fifth. And everybody from 6th through 40th that make this show also get entered into a drawing to win an Oculus Quest 2. That's a pretty darn good payout.
It is, and once upon a time, it was a $10,000 payout for some of the top championships in sim racing. You mentioned no pay-in fee, so it's not like any drivers were restricted or limited in their ability to participate in the event because they couldn't pay an entry fee for a $10,000 prize pool, $7,500 of which, plus those giveaways you mentioned to go to the field here tonight, really is impressive as this debut main event for the eRacing Association. And on that note, I want to welcome in some of the people that are making all of this happen. I want to welcome Jesse Wuji and Matt Casto into the broadcast booth. Guys, happy to have you back with us for a second night in a row. You joined us for qualifying action last night, and this is the main event. So as we build up to this, I'll hand things back over to you guys to talk a little bit more about the ERA, what tonight's event is going to mean, not only for what we're immediately seeing on track tonight in a fight for a checkered flag, but also kind of the wider and broader goal, if you will, of trying to grow and promote this sim racing community.
Most definitely. And man, I am super excited to be here today. And we have our Winter Bowl Omega Cup Series race. It's our first one for ERA, eRacing Association. So pretty cool to have the opportunity to even put this on. And it's been a lot of hard work by our team. Even the folks at RaceSpot putting in a lot of work and a lot of hours to get this whole thing set up. Our team, Sean, Tim, Matt, me, everybody else who's been supporting iRacing, everybody who's been part of this whole thing. It's been epic. But yeah, we're putting on this race and we're putting it on at a tough track. It's not going to be easy for any of these drivers at all. Nashville, just with the way it's shaped, it being a short track, it creates a lot of great racing. There's a bunch of lanes you can run, but it's also tough too. So it's going to be interesting to see how the drivers fare with it all day today. How are you feeling today, Matt?
Man, Jesse, I'm fired up. Welcome to all the viewers tuning in from the many channels. Thanks to, again, RaceSpot and the ERA team for putting this together. But again, the competitors for showing up in full force, over 600. I don't know if they thought, Jesse, we were going to really give away this cash, but they're about to find out tonight. And of course, we've added these Oculus Quest 2. So I know tonight we've got something special for the viewers and the competitors. Obviously, you've heard about the prizes, but we'll share a little bit more through the night and here over the next few minutes what's in it for the viewers. But Jess, the first thing I want to talk about is the rise of sim racing. And really, if you can just spend a quick minute on some comments about how realistic this is. I know you're a real Xfinity NASCAR driver, and I think back to this year when you made your Xfinity debut, and what's crazy is this year with COVID, they canceled practice, they canceled qualifying, and it was the first time you'd ever shown up to the track. You'd never seen the track, never sat in an Xfinity car. You hadn't even ever met the owner of the team, as a matter of fact, and similar to these competitors tonight, right? Showing up, getting the setup, figuring out the track, having a limited amount of time to practice, which at least they did get some practice, but even funnier, it rained that night. So how can you talk about the correlation between this and the real thing? Because look, as the agent who represents you, I'm looking for more talent, and I know you have spent hours, hundreds and thousands on this simulator. Tell us about how real this is and compared to real life racing.
Well, iRacing's done a really good job over the last few years of really advancing their technology with sim racing. iRacing is the best out there, honestly. I mean, there is no other sim platform that is better than the software that iRacing has. They do such a good job of really recreating all these different tracks, whether it's road courses or ovals or whatever it is. They're recreating them very well. It's very realistic. You can see all of the same marks all the way around the track as you do in real life, and these are the same marks that you're using in real life to help you know, okay, where's my threshold areas? Where am I braking at? Where's my turn-in points? Where am I looking for this? Where am I looking for that? All these different things you can actually find on iRacing, and it helps you so much when it comes to training and training your muscle memory, training your eyes, training your vision, training your mind, how to race against people in certain situations. I know some people joke around, when you're at Daytona on iRacing, it's a really good help to do it on iRacing because you can learn contact avoidance. You learn how to dodge wrecks on here. And in real life, it actually works out and helps you out a lot. So everything iRacing's done to really, advance their technology with this sim, it's helped out drivers like me, real life drivers who race, every weekend. And it's very helpful. I like it a lot. I use it to train every weekend, and I will continue to over the rest of my career.
Well, speaking of how realistic it is, I think we even just witnessed the winner of the Snowball Derby rocking the iRacing car and, again, logging countless hours on this setup here. But look, I'm preaching to the choir. You guys that are competing, you guys that entered the race already understand how fun this is. So listen, Jess, I know we're going to add, we had Oculus Quest 2s, which are these brand new VR headsets that take your gaming experience to the next level. Why don't you do me a favor and just touch on, we decided to throw a curveball tonight to all those who participated and competed in last night's heat race. You already have one name in the hat for a random draw, but we decided tonight, listen, we put on a free event. We want to do a lot more of these, and everybody's been saying this is amazing. We can't wait till the next one. How can we help? And the first step, Jess, I know, is we're asking people to share this live stream on their feeds. Talk to me about what we're going to do and what we need them to do to prove to us they shared it and how we're going to give them an extra entry, man. Can you take a second to talk about that?
Yeah, so tonight we're giving away some Oculus Quest 2s, and they're some of the newest Oculus equipment that have recently come out. Really great VR, and it's wireless. We have two of them that we're giving away. One of them will be given away to one randomly drawn participant who participated yesterday in the heat races, and then another one will be given away to one of our main event participants today. And we will be doing that drawing over the next few days and letting those folks know who ended up winning. But for the folks who did compete over these last 2 days, they're really looking to increase their chances, increase their odds of, or better their odds for winning these. What they can do is, if they're watching this, they can actually share the stream, whether it's on Facebook or wherever you're watching it from. Share it on your Facebook or wherever you can share it to. Share it. And once you share it, take a screenshot and, as proof that you actually, shared it, and send us an email with that screenshot, or just send us a DM on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you can reach us at. We have a lot of different ways you can reach us. Send us a DM and show that screenshot, and we will actually give you one more entry into that drawing. So if you want to have your odds better, you want to double your entries, share it on Facebook or wherever you can, Twitter, you name it.
That's awesome, man. So listen, I got my Santa Claus hat on. We are in the giving spirit, giving back to the racing community. Jesse, I know that's rallied around you and fostered your rise from the Navy to NASCAR. And man, this is incredible. Listen, I want to talk to the viewers for a second, because we didn't want you just to show up to root for your favorite driver. We didn't want you to just watch to get tips and techniques and figure out how you can be here too. Jesse, I know on our ERA Facebook page, we literally just launched a giveaway from one of your real-life NASCAR partners that sponsors you there there's a sweepstakes. Can you take a second, talk to the viewers? They're going to see this. They're going to wish they could upgrade their sim rig. They're going to wish they had a PC to do this type of gaming, the cockpit, the pedals, the steering wheel. I mean, it's a pretty incredible ultimate home sim racing package. Can you talk to me real quick about that opportunity for anyone to enter that sweepstakes tonight real quick?
Well, it's really a nice sweepstakes to definitely enter, that's for sure. One of my partners, TrueCar, they're doing this sweepstakes, and in that sweepstakes, people have the opportunity to win a full-on simulator setup. And I'm talking about wheels, pedal, shifter, everything, TV, PC, seat, everything you need to get going in iRacing. A lot of people sometimes complain that, hey, I want to get into sim racing, I want to try all this stuff, I want to get into ERA, and I don't have a sim, I don't have a computer, I don't have this, I don't have that. Well, here's your opportunity to potentially win it. So make sure you visit our Facebook page or Instagram page. We've been posting some videos. It's actually on our eRacing Association Facebook page right now. If you just scroll down through a few posts, you should see some video that shows the actual sweepstakes, the website to go to, what you got to do to enter, all of that stuff. But man, if you enter and you win, you will be a very happy person, and maybe you can get your sim racing career off the ground.
Hey, man, good luck to everybody who enters that tonight. And a couple last things. Listen, we're talking about how realistic this is. You're going to see spots tonight from the NFL all-time leading rusher, Emmitt Smith. We're going to talk about a call to action for viewers, how you can get in a virtual room with Emmitt Smith this weekend, and we'll share more about that platform. We've got country music recording artist Jared Ashley kicking off our national anthem here in a few seconds. And then we have a starting command by one of my favorite ladies in the planet, somebody who is a huge giver, who is an icon in her own right, Miss Patty Smith, Emmitt Smith's wife, co-founder of the Pat and Emmitt Smith Charities, and a co-founder of Notable Live. She'll be given the starting command tonight. If anybody's seen Jesse and his journey, he's one to make sure doors are open for everybody. So with that, we're going to turn it back to the booth to get this show kicked off tonight. We'll be back more to talk throughout the evening about our partners, and good luck to all the competitors. 10 grand is on the line. Jesse, if you have any closing comments, I'll let you wrap up.
I'm super excited to see this racing going because it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun one tonight. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, let's get this national anthem going.
Well, happy to have you guys upstairs with us for this one as well. We are about set to go racing, so without further ado, let's go down trackside for pre-race ceremonies and the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
And cars are on track from the virtual Nashville Fairground Speedway. We are qualifying for tonight's feature race. As we mentioned during pre-race coverage, 51 drivers attempting to qualify for the top 40 positions chase to make this main event. This is where the pressure's on, and already some of the early returns in queue show that this entire field separated by only a handful of tenths of a second. Again, they had 10 minutes, about 3 minutes left on the clock. I would think most drivers at this point would have put their best time down. So we'll see late here, as there's still a handful of drivers yet to go, if anybody else gets bumped from that top 40 mark.
Yeah, currently looks like 2 drivers left to take a time here, and on that bubble spot in 40th is Matthew Wright. So he's probably, we would like to call that, he's on the hot seat right now there, Evan. So if one of these 2 drivers that has to go bumps him out, obviously Matthew Wright, he's going to have to try again the next time that we have one of these Winter Bowl races. So right now, how about Logan Clampett, top of the boards? Pretty great to see a guy with so much success on the iRacing sim put it at the top of the speed charts, but you can kind of feel the anticipation building. We've got, look at that crowd, man. The crowd here at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, the crowd watching at home on the various live streams, they are all excited. Evan, I know you are excited, and I am pumped up to get this thing going here.
If it's anything like some of the good stuff we saw last night battling for the lead, again, it's going to be a good night. And there's your live look at the current leaderboard. Clampett topped 16 100ths of a second atop of Cody Kelly second. And you mentioned a lot of big names in this one. We've been making a point of the 600-plus entries that anybody could get in it, but it's clear who those sim racing vets are. The likes of Austin Edwards, Daniel Eberhardt, Colton Salek. You've also got Landon Huffman. Storm Peterson won the qualifier race that we covered last night. He's right now just outside of the top 10 in qualifying. Somebody like Parker Retzlaff from the eNASCAR Ignite Series. So handful of drivers through the field. I see, somebody like a Kyle Trudell is on track right now from 47th. Doesn't look like he's going to make himself to a top 40 spot to get in. And we talked about the differences between the qualifier races and single lap queue. Jesse, I know that you're familiar with all those various different forms, and the point I was arguing earlier, I'd probably be more nervous for this than I was last night. At least last night there were some yellows. You could kind of make a mistake and come back through. It's basically get your good lap in or you're done. And right now the difference between 40th and 41st is 1/1000th of a second.
Man, the competition is so tight. It is so crazy to see I'm just looking at these lap times. I mean, these guys are so good. Some of these guys have so much practice, so much time on the simulators. They've been on simulators for years. Some people 10 years, some people more than that. The competition is very, very close. But yeah, I'd be super nervous tonight. I mean, so much is on the line. And like we talked about last night, for some of these drivers who are competing today, this is the biggest purse they've ever gone after in their life, whether it's real life racing or sim racing. I mean, how many times do you get the opportunity to see an event on sim racing that's giving away $10,000 as a prize pool to the top 5 finishers? I mean, it just doesn't happen. I mean, some people do big payouts for a season, maybe a whole year or something like that, but to do it for one event, it's been something that we've been able to thankfully pull off, and we've had a lot of support and a lot of help by a lot of great people to even make this happen. We cannot sit here and say we've done this all alone. We've had a lot of great support, but yeah, these drivers, they are I know they're definitely nervous tonight.
Going to be high stakes and high intensity action in this one. Just a few more seconds. You can see the timer in the top left corner of your screen until this starting grid is officially complete. 10 seconds left. I don't think anybody else is going to sneak a time in. And with that, our open qualifying session will draw to a close. And we now have 40 drivers locked in to fight for $10,000. So let's go trackside for the most famous words in motorsports.
So first of all, I want to say happy holidays to everyone. And I'm so excited to be here representing Notable Live. And we have this great relationship with Jesse, and it started at the Texas Motor Speedway where my son actually got to do the starting command. So today, he has been working with me, and I get to do it. And I am ready to tell you all, drivers, start your engines.
Let's go trackside and take a look at your starting grid for this Winter Bowl final. Logan Clampett qualifies on pole position. He'll bring us to the green flag this evening, an 18-1-4-6, the best of them all. Cody Kelly outside of row number 1. He'll start in second position. Back on row 2, you'll find Garrett Conrath and Kyle Sisko. P5, Austin Edwards along with Daniel Eberhardt in the number 6 position. Michael Morley starts from 7th with Colton Salick in the number 8 spot, and it is Timmy Holmes and Jackson Crowder chase our top 10.
Yeah, behind those guys starting on the 6th row, the 79 car, that's where, the 75 car, that's where you'll find Landon Huffman. And last night's winner, where we streamed that heat race, the 63 car of Storm Patterson will roll off from 12th. Row 7 inside, car number 2, that's Parker Retzlaff, and outside him, the 88 of Mac McMillan. Row number 8, it's the 97 car of Daniel Silvestri. And the 44 car, that's where you're going to find David Centini in 44. Row number 9, the 67 of Jordan Davis Flint. And to his right, starting back in the 18th spot, it's the 31 of Tegan Dagnall. Row number 10, on the inside, the 15 car of Michael Sturgill. And starting 20th, it's the 42 car of Colin Fern.
Right here, mid-pack, 21st, going to be the number 46 of Michael McLean alongside Joshua Lotka in 22nd. Aaron Smith, the second, and Daniel Smallwood going to double up. They're going to be on row number 12. Behind them, Kenny Brady and Caden Anderson will start from 25th and 26th. Brad Patton, 27th, best in queue for this one, along with Seth Hatchell in the number 28 spot. And back at row 15, it'll be Ryan Farmer, 29th, and River Hayes in 30th.
A guy to watch for here tonight coming from the back in car number 77, Mitchell Hunt. He'll start 31st. Outside of him, the 86 car of Joseph Galata. Then back there starting 33rd, the 51 car, Tom Wetmore. And to his outside, it's the 3 of William Karp. Starting 35th tonight, the 04 of Matthew Lee. And how about this former Truck Series winner, the 83 car, Cale Gale tonight, starting 36th. 37th, the 19 of Richie Coy, and outside him, the 13 car of Cody McKinney. And your final 2 starters tonight, the 78 of Bailey Jelinas, and the 48, that's Kenneth Garber. He made it in by 1/1000th of a second into this field, Evan.
It was an 18.498 versus an 18.499. So the drivers who do not advance to the feature, Matthew Wright, Caden Honeycutt. You also got Brandon Gagnon, Doug Roth, Cody Harris, Ian Smith, Kyle Trudell, Mike Rasmus, Colin Slife, James Kerr, and David Polans. Those are the drivers who make it into this evening's qualifier, but do not make the cut for the top 40, and that's a look top to bottom at your eRacing Association starting grid. As we get set to roll one more time with the tail of the tape, we are racing for 150 laps of action here for the virtual Nashville Fairground Speedway. You can see the flash bulbs going off. The virtual fans are excited. We hope that you're all excited. Tune it in at home as well. Going to be 89 miles of racing action from the top to the bottom. Making a very different race than what you saw in qualifying chase, with a whole lot on the line, and that's to the point that Jesse's been making all afternoon long and really all week. For a lot of these drivers, this is the biggest stage they have ever been on. How will they handle the pressure?
Yeah, that's the question right there. A couple of these guys rolling off from the grid right now. Their hands are probably shaking. Their arms are shaking. Their heart's pounding. They're probably a little bit nervous, especially those guys starting up towards the front of the field. They know they've got a great shot to maybe win this thing, as they have great track position here. But 150 laps, that's a long time around this racetrack. It's only just over a half mile, but 150 laps on, I don't care what kind of racetrack it is, that is a long time. And these guys, they've got to conserve their race cars. Unlike last night, we had, unlimited resets, and I don't think that's the case here tonight. So all 40 of these guys, if they want to win this thing, they've got to be there at the end. They've got to keep the fenders on these cars, and they've got to keep their heads on straight here. So pace car working on the backstretch here for our first pace lap.
One of the biggest nights of the sim racing calendar this year, and we're happy that you're joining us on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. Pace car down it in the field at the hands of the 99 machine of a Logan Clampett, who will bring us to turn 4 as we say, let's go racing from Nashville.
Logan Clampett jumping out to the early race lead. The Valvoline Toyota car number 99 will show the way down the back straightaway. Cody Kelly slots into second. Third place now goes to the number 3 car, of Garrett Conrad. Sorry, that's actually the 9 as the caution comes out here on lap 1. We've got a couple cars piled up in turn number 3, making about 3 or 4 of them here, getting together and bringing us to a slow here on lap number 1.
Yeah, still a couple of cars coming into it as well, as that incident happened somewhat towards the front of the field. So it was really an accordion effect at everybody else behind that incident. You can see the backstretch there, not real wide for drivers to avoid it. Let's watch Daniel Eberhard here on the outside of the racetrack battling with the number 6 machine. That's Michael Morley, and a bit of a touch there. He's down it into the inside wall. Landon Huffman gets involved. I think the 88 machine got a piece of that one also. On the outside, that was Mac McMillan with nowhere to go. An early race chaos in this one after Daniel Eberhard got tagged by that 6 car behind. That's how quickly it can happen. And just like that, your 6th best car in the qualifier in Eberhard forced down to pit road early. That's a theme we saw in those qualifier races last night. It wasn't necessarily the guys who started up front who finished up front. And I think that that's even more likely in a race like this, where you have to survive 150 laps.
And now the issue is there for Daniel Eberhard, obviously getting taken out there early in the race on lap number 1. But now, when does he use that fast repair if he's got one there, Evan? Because if he wants to use it on lap 1, that's fine. But then after that, he's got to go to 149 more laps without getting in any more accidents because he's not going to have that fast repair. As we take another look at it, Landon Huffman hard into the turn 3 wall. Also involved, you see the 88 car, the 70 slowing down, trying to miss it. A couple cars spinning out, just trying to lock the brakes up there. So a pretty wild accident entering turn number 3. But yeah, the fast repair thing is what I'm going to keep my eye on here, because it looks like Eberhard did not use his fast repair. He's still got a lot of damage to the car right now, so maybe trying to play a little bit of strategy there.
Yeah, those cars towards the back, I saw Hatchell get a bit of damage. We saw the corner with that. I think Richie Coy and maybe Matthew Lee were the drivers who got a piece of that as well. So they got all checked up in the back of the field and found themselves obviously just trying to avoid that incident. And just double checking, we talked about those unlimited resets, which is kind of a race car driver's dream, right? If this was real life, as you can tear it up and get back out there. A lot of drivers had to utilize those quick repairs in the qualifying last night, but tonight they are restricted to just one fast repair. So this goes back to what we talked about last night, Chase. Our discussion was you can go down and get the quick repair, but is it worth giving up the track position? Early in this race, you have to ask yourself, if I have damage at lap number 5, is it worth me burning my one fast repair to then get in a wreck 10 laps later and have to nurse a damaged race car for 140 laps? So these drivers are going to be making decisions. Is my car hurt too much? Maybe they want to run it on the green to kind of see how it reacts to the damage. Is it worth getting the fast repair, or am I just going to suck it up? But a lot of these drivers, as the lights go on the pace car, consulting with the real-life spotters and crew chiefs that are in the sim with them, helping them walk through this one.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's definitely a lot of strategy involved in this. And if you're watching for the first time, this is your first time watching an iRacing event, that's kind of some of the strategy that they don't have to worry about in real-life NASCAR. But here on the sim, they have to worry about, when do I need to use that fast repair if I have to take it? So it's really interesting to see who uses it and when they do. As the pace car pulls off into the infield, onto the safety of pit road, Clamp It will lead the field back to green, 6 complete, and still 144 to go as we come across the line.
And it was a good jump from the front row. The challenge was for second. Cody Kelly wins out. A big slide by Kyle Sisko off of the corner. That's that 3-wide action. Back for 5th, and he's going to get turned into the outside wall. Smacks it up against the fence. No caution, though, as he straightens that 12 car out. Now another spin on the front straightaway. Just a single car, and now a big mess in turn number 1, centered around that 46.
They're piling up. They're piling up. Oh, my goodness. These guys are getting aggressive. It's so much money on the line, so much on the line for these guys, and they're fighting. Everyone wants that position, but they have to learn, hey, it's a 150-lap race. I mean, you got to understand that, hey, in order to finish first, you must first finish. By trying to go after some of these positions and not having the space to do it and trying to take it doesn't always work out the way you want it to. Have some patience. We'll see if these drivers are a little bit smarter after this, but, man, some of these guys are wrecking their race cars a little bit too early.
Yeah, what an unfortunate circumstance there for the 46 of Michael McLean there, Evan. He was just putting around the bottom, trying to miss the wreck, and the 31 car of Tegan Dagnall comes down, gets loose, right into that right rear quarter panel and turns the 46 of McLean around. And unfortunately here at the straightaways at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, very narrow. And if something like that happens, everybody starts, dipping and diving and dodging all around. Eventually you're going to run out of room, and that's exactly what we saw right there. Guys trying to miss, but they go through a hole that either gets filled up by a car that's crashing or another guy that's trying to miss the accident and, in turn collects another 5 or 6 race cars there.
It is just the name of the game when you get a full field like this at 40 cars at such a small track. Of course, at over a half-mile in length, I guess some would argue if it's a short track, but definitely by NASCAR Cup Series car standards, it absolutely is. And, I mentioned off at the top that it's good to be back and to have some NASCAR racing, even in a virtual sense, here at the fairgrounds. Since the early 80s, since we've actually seen NASCAR Cup Series action here, and a little bit more recently for the likes of the Xfinity Series and others. But, this is the current day state of Nashville Fairgrounds. That there was a lot of press earlier this year that iRacing had scanned north of Wilkesboro Speedway, and that was recreated to be like it was several decades ago, right back when NASCAR racing was there, kind of in its prime. This track is current day state Nashville Fairgrounds. Still racing goes on there, and of course there's kind of a big effort in the racing community to try to see some action, get back to this track. And, Jesse, for all that we talked about how realistic the sim is, right, where you can run exactly a NASCAR schedule or exactly another schedule, this is a cool opportunity where we can take modern day NASCAR Cup cars and put them on a track that they haven't been to in quite some time.
Yeah, it's really cool to really be able to do that. It's cool to see these modern day cars on these old tracks that NASCAR hasn't been to in a long time. And the cool thing with iRacing is they have a lot of tracks on here that are older tracks that haven't been used in forever. And you can play around on iRacing and create some really cool situations. I mean, if you wanted to, you could take these cars to somewhere like Eldora and you can put them on the dirt. So there's a lot of cool ways you can mess around on iRacing and simulate your fantasy world, I would say, as far as racing. So it's cool that you have the opportunity to do it. iRacing makes it happen, and it's fun to kind of see what these cars can do in different places. And they can race very well here in Nashville. It's just once the nerves calm down and people really get in their groove, I think we're going to see some good racing.
And lights out on top of the pace car. So this restart going to put 13 laps behind us with a restart 137 to go. The big story last night was in those 25-lap heat races, the one of which we covered required 2 attempts at overtime that cautions did not count against that clock. That is not the case this evening. So these drivers do have to keep that in mind, try to maximize green flag lap times to get themselves through the field. Clamp it in control once more for the bottom. Green flag flies are back underway. And here comes Edwards to the inside of Kelly. He'll challenge for second.
Yeah, Austin Edwards, a veteran of sim racing, trying to make the move on Cody Kelly, but the top of the racetrack on the restart just a little bit too strong here as we've got a yellow out on the speedway. A couple cars at the back getting together. Looks like Daniel Smallwood, Mitchell Hunt involved, as well as the 8 of Seth Hatchell, Mac McMillan, David Santini, and a couple of others there towards the rear of the field. And hearing from race control now, we are going to switch to single file restarts to try and get these guys through the first couple laps here, Evan.
A couple of incidents. We saw it right there. So the yellow is for the yellow car, maybe. I know he said David Santini into the fence. That was the 44 machine. And then there was a subsequent spin when the 70 car of Aaron Smith II tried to check things up. And that's very similar to what we saw in the first yellow in this race, right? It may be a short track, but you're still talking about speeds of some 130 some odd miles an hour. So when there's a wreck and the track gets blocked, there's a concrete wall on the outside. There really is no apron on the bottom of the racetrack anywhere. It's that accordion effect, right? That big mess that can stack things up. Here's a second look at the run down to turn 1. There's the contact that sent Santini into the outside wall, and then look behind right there, the tap for the number 70 machine who got turned around after he ping-ponged off of a handful of drivers. So that's going to be the key in this race, right, is there's going to be yellows. It's short track racing. That's to be expected. There's probably going to be a lot of contact. That's also to be expected. But that situational awareness of kind of seeing those incidents develop up the road, being able to avoid it, and again, keep your car clean to get to the end of this race, going to be crucial for those drivers who don't have the luxury of the likes of Clampett and Kelly and Edwards, who qualified up front and therefore, for the most part, are going to be out of that chaos for much of this race.
Yeah, they definitely have the best seat in the house and the safest seat in the house, that's for sure. And you talk about situational awareness as we take a little bit of a slow-mo look at what exactly happens here to these drivers towards the back of the field. This track, it's just over a half mile, which might sound big, but these guys are doing it in under 20-second lap times. So when something happens, you're going so fast. This track is pretty narrow on the straightaways. It's hard to check up and not, maybe the guy behind you isn't paying attention, or, he's not looking over his radiator cap, as the old saying goes, and ends up, running to the back of you. There's sometimes where you miss the wreck, and then, oftentimes it's not even your fault. You get hit from behind, or some guy spins down the track on the outside of you, takes you out. And that's kind of what's happened here to a few guys, including Michael McLean in the last caution. He was just minding his own business, and sure enough, gets absolutely tail slapped by a driver that's trying to not spin out. So, it's just crazy how quick things can happen, especially in these race cars, Jesse. I mean, big 3,400-pound stock car on a half-mile racetrack with, this Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. The surface of it, I feel like it's just so old. There's not a whole lot of grip into it, which makes it a lot of fun to drive. But, these guys are struggling trying to find grip with the tires still cold.
It definitely is a struggle to find grip here. Yeah, the track surface is pretty old. I mean, I can't remember exactly how many years old it is, but it's pretty old. And the thing at this track is really easy to overdrive the car into these corners. You're carrying a lot of speed going into these corners because, unlike a lot of other short tracks, it's not a flat track. So you're throwing it into that corner. You can be really loose, really easy on entry, and especially on exit. So drivers really got to calm down. Easy in, hard out. Easy in, hard out. You got to be a little bit more patient. We'll see how they go on this next restart.
Different procedure, as mentioned. We'll go single file and up against the outside wall. Clampett takes off. It's good for him. It's also good news for Cody Kelly, though, because Edwards can't challenge him this time of the race down to 1. Your top 10 single file. A little bit more challenging throughout the field, but the leaders so far so good as Kelly sets his sights on P1. Clampett led every lap so far.
And there goes Parker Retzlaff. He makes it by the 54 machine of Jackson Crowder. So Retzlaff, who's won a lot of big races on the iRacing sim, is making his way to the front. Oh, Kelly just got sideways, comes down the track in front of the whole field. And the 5-car, who is running second, will bring out the caution. I did not see what happened to the 5. I was looking at the battle for 5th. But the 5 of Kelly, who, like I mentioned, was running P2 at the time, has some kind of issue down there in 1 and 2.
And I think it may have been some sort of a hardware failure with his wheel at home. Check this out. He's fine into the corner. He's chasing Clampett right there. Just totally stopped turning into the wall. You can see the car kind of limps down the hill. And Cody Kelly, I had just mentioned, was second, chasing down Clampett after a little bit of a slow start. And then that car just went straight into the outside wall. I suppose, Jesse, that another advantage of sim racing is you're not really going to have a mechanical failure, right? You're not going to get a random flat tire. Something's not going to go in the car and cause an incident like that. But at least in Kelly's case, let's watch the wheel here into turn 1. He's turning in, and right there it snaps back. I think that's his wheel disconnected at home. That's a unique sim racing issue, is of course, well, even in the sim world, your equipment's got to hold up, right?
Yeah, and it's crazy that happens. I mean, you don't normally see that happen. I mean, everyone wants to believe that, hey, you're in a quote-unquote video game. Nothing bad can happen. Well, guess what? Right there, sim hardware failing at home. He has an equipment failure, and what does that do? It sends him right into the wall, right into the outside wall, and then back into everyone in the field. I feel bad for the guy, but it happens. I mean, sim hardware sometimes does fail. It happens to people all the time, and you can see his wheel stuck right there, heading towards the wall. He knows, hey, this is the end of my race right here. Maybe we'll see. Who knows if he can go to the pits, get that little quick repair, and be back in the field and competing again. But man, he was about to have a decent run, and then that just screwed up his day. We'll see how he bounces back from there.
And the
worst
worst
part
part
of it is,
to get on the
virtual tow truck chase to get to pit road. I just want to mention that. So even if he can fix that wheel and get back kind of into this race, he's already 2-3 laps down. So Cody Kelly's night basically done in the blink of an eye there.
Yeah, and the worst part of it was, man, he's riding around in second, which pays a lot of money to finish in the second spot. And, he probably would have been happy just to come home second and pick up all that money that would have come along with it. But unfortunately, obviously maybe the USB port came out of the back of his computer. You never know, man. The cat could have jumped on the desk or whatever and unplugged it. I know it's happened to me in the past, and unfortunately, Cody Kelly, at the worst of times, it happens to him, and here he is sitting on pit road as the tow truck is taking him back over to the inside of the speedway. So, man, that's an absolute heartbreaker. A one-way ticket to Heartbreak City, we like to call that right there.
So he's going to have a lot of regrets, and I think looking back on this one, he's not the only driver with some early race issues. Of course, we've seen a handful of cars in incidents tonight, but also Matthew T. Lee and Michael McLean have lost a lap due to some early race incidents and are pretty damaged at this point. So 37 of the 40 cars who started this race still on the lead lap, and despite the lack of a long run or strategy yet to come into a factor, we'll talk more about that as this race goes on. There are a lot of new faces up towards the front of the field. Parker Retzlaff, you talked about him 2 restarts ago, started 13th. He's already up to position number 4. You've also got Jackson Crowder, started 10th up 5 spots into position number 5. So there are cars coming and try to challenge that number 99 Machine Clampett, who so far hasn't had to deal with much of a real challenge from behind. We'll see what Edwards can do as he now is in a race high P2 in that number 18 Chevrolet. Pace car back down and in. Clampett once more will lead out of 4. Green flag back in the air. 124 laps to go.
Good restart for Austin Edwards, just a car length behind Logan Clampett as they make their way through 1 and 2. The 9 of Conrad kind of missed the bottom right there, and here comes the 42 car of Parker Retzlaff, still trying to make up ground here. He's up to P4 and now challenging for 3rd, and Retzlaff looks like one of the best cars on the racetrack. He'll take a peek to the inside for 3rd, down into turn number 1, door to door with the 9 car of Conrad as they work off a 2.
It's the fight for 3rd. At a turn 2 and down the back straightaway. Give it to Conrath on the outside. Better run that time off for the corner. Retzlaff going to slide back a spot. Now he'll try to reset. Come back at him. Behind them, Crowder watches on. He wants to get in on the fun. It's a 3-way battle for 3rd. At lap 29, here's Retzlaff looking to the bottom. They touch. He bobbles. A good save, but Retzlaff nearly threw the 9 car there.
Man, an incredible save at that. I mean, he got into the left rear quarter panel. The rear end of that car shot around, and he cranked the wheel back to the right as quick as he could. Now he's getting hit from behind by the 54 car of Crowder. Jackson Crowder is telling him, hey, man, we got to get going here. The top 2 are starting to pull away. Obviously, still 120 laps to go, but Jackson Crowder looks like he's in a hurry to get to the front of the field. But I want to give a shout-out to my boy Joseph Galata right now. He started 32nd on the field. We've gone 31 laps. He's up to P9.
More than a spot a lap thus far. He is the biggest mover in this race, basically, when you're talking about a spot a lap under green flag conditions, plus 23. And we probably had about that number of green flag laps thus far. He wants more as he's looking up the road to the likes of Storm Patterson and others. They're battling all throughout the field, but you can see 1 and 2. Clampett and Edwards pulling away just a little bit from the battle we watch right here, led by Retzlaff for 3rd on back, and now it's Crowder trying to get to the inside of the 9 of Conrad. A little bit friendly, and there's a shot. He'll move him all the way into the outside wall. No! Crowder just disposed of Conrad.
You said friendly a little bit too soon there, Evan. And the 54 Crowder, we've already seen it tonight, man. He is not afraid to use the front bumper on that Chevrolet Camaro right there. He moves up to 4th and takes that Twix number 9 car of Garrett Conrath right up to the outside, while Conrath, he's still going, a little bit of damage, and I'm thinking if he can get back to the 54 car, we might see a little bit of rubbing between those two. Conrad still with a fast car, and it looks like he's actually tracking Crowder down a little bit, so we might need to keep tabs on these guys.
Despite the fact that he ended up at the wall, I think that's still a good save for Conrad because that hit came on the quarter panel, not square to the bumper. And Jesse, I'll ask you about that. What's the etiquette with moving somebody out of the way? I can imagine that kind of a bump and run, maybe for the win, but 30 laps into the race, I don't want to be making enemies, and I'm sure Conrad is going to repay that favor to the 54 if he can get back to him.
Oh, most definitely he's repaying it, that's for sure. I mean, when you're going after this amount of money, I mean, a lot of people, they're throwing the rules just out the window. They're like, you know what, I don't care. This is my one chance right here to make my year, maybe even make my life. I mean, with $10,000 on the line, and everyone's fighting for this. And yeah, remember, some of these people who are racing in this race, some of these folks are, they're pretty young. I mean, 17, 18, 19, 20, maybe even younger than that. We had a lot of different age ranges entering this event. We even had people as old as 60, 65 years old entering this event. This is an event where a lot of people, no matter what your age, no matter what your demographic is, no matter what your gender is, it doesn't matter. Sim racing is for all. There is no discrimination. It's diverse. Anyone can get into it, and it's super fun. And they're just throwing the rules out the window. They don't care. Let's go fight for that money, and that's what you see them doing right here.
I think that this race specifically, Chase, as well, is kind of very symbolic of sim racing as a whole, right? It's a lot harder for somebody who wants to be a professional race car driver to get into a race car, right? As we see the battle for second, it's Retzlaff to the inside of Edwards, side by side in 3 and 4. You're on board with him there on the right-hand side, and he's got it at a 4. It's not like basketball, right, where you can go to pick up a ball and go down to the park and shoot some hoops and kind of get introduced there. There is an expensive barrier of entry. So in sim racing, like this event where there was no entry fee, it is much more affordable just to see if you enjoy it, right? It can be a hobby or it can be a stepping stone for some of the younger competitors in here, many of which, by the way, do have some real-life racing experience to kind of take that first step as we have another yellow.
Yep, caution comes back out there, Evan, and you know, and Jesse kind of alluded to it. There's no barrier for this type of thing, as the car that's around is the 63. Last night's winner in the broadcasted heat race, Storm Patterson, has gone around on the front straightaway. But yeah, there's no barriers, man. There's guys, as you mentioned, Jesse, that are 60, 70 years old that are on this iRacing, and they're having a great time doing it. There's guys that are, you know, wheelchair bound for their lives. They've been in accidents where they can't walk, they can't, you know, use their legs, but they find a way to, you know, hook up a steering wheel with hand controls and things like that. You know, Kevin Swindell, who's won the Chili Bowl 5 times, he's got his own iRacing setup. I've seen it in person. You know, he's got the hand controls and all that stuff, and he makes it work. He wins races all the time. So that's the coolest part about iRacing.com. It's super competitive as you see these drivers heading down pit road for the first time here, Evan.
Yeah, the race leaders down pit road, they do have 2 additional sets of tires down pit road, so roughly at about 1/3 distance. Not shocked by this decision, especially after the longest green flag run of the night we've seen thus far on that last run to come down in for service. Obviously, going to get some extra fuel and likely to go for 4 tires in service, but it is not a unanimous decision to pit. So Logan Clampett's going to get 4 tires. He'll win the race off of pit road, but that's only going to be good enough at the moment for 18th position on track. So at the moment, 17 cars not pitting on this cycle, and that's going to completely change how this field looks at the front.
Yeah, Michael Morley, who was second place last night in our broadcasted race, he has assumed the race lead here, staying out on those old tires, and that puts Colin Fern second, Michael Sturgill in third, Joshua Latka fourth, and Caden Anderson in the 5th place at the moment. But wow, I was not expecting 17 cars to stay out on the racetrack. I figured once Logan pulled in, you know, everybody, maybe like 2 or 3 guys would stay out and, you know, try and gamble. But with 17 cars in the field, I've got to be worried right now. If my name's Logan Clampett, I'm sitting back here mid-pack now. I've seen how many incidents there are. There's a couple guys still trying to get a handle on this race car and this setup. I would be very worried at my chances of that $7,500 tonight.
Well, let's look at this. Look at all the green, top of the field for the drivers who have stayed out. Morley was a top 10 car to the start, but look at everybody else. Plus 18, 16, 18, 21, even as many as plus 25 positions for Tom Wetmore, who was 33rd on the grid for this race, but by staying out is going to be in that number 8 spot for the ensuing restart. A couple of more cars did decide to trickle down pit road for some service, so Logan Clampett ends up in 16th as they run at the moment. He will have to get around 15 cars worth. The drivers who have been on these tires for the most part since the very top of this race. You've got guys like Daniel Everhart back there who were involved in some incidents, but I don't think they came down to take tires quite yet. So it is freshies from 16th on back, old tires, everybody else there up. And you thought some of the restarts were crazy already. Going to go back to double file for this one, and it'll be interesting to see just how fast those guys on the fresh tires can get through the field, but also how cautious and how well they execute doing so without just running the guys in front of them over.
And I like the call by race officials there to go back double file. These guys made it about 25, 30 laps there under green. I think they've started to get it figured out here, and we can skip back to double file restarts and you know, get these guys a little bit more side by side here by the time we get back racing. So the pace car's off. Michael Morley and Colin Fern now are up front here trying to win $7,500 tonight. Morley's on the gas, and he's going to lead this 40-car field back into turn 1. We got contact. The 36 machine, what a save by Joshua Latka. Now he's going to get hit from behind, and we're wrecking off a 2.
Oh, he did so good for so long. More drivers get a pile in behind and a caution at lap 47. It was a good save. I'm not going to take that away. It was for nothing, though, because he did a great job of catching that car and then got run over from behind when they went a little bit 4 wide. Then all started with Joshua Lotka there. And in fact, Jesse, it wasn't even the guys on fresh tires. It was the leaders. There's the shunt there, and then there's the second to touch. So it was the cars on old tires taking each other out. Not even the guys on fresh tires having to worry about it.
Yeah, and that's what happens sometimes. So when you get this mix-up, in the field where, half the field is on old tires, half the field is on new tires, especially on iRacing, I mean, you really have a speed advantage when you get those new tires, especially at a track like Nashville. Here at this track, I mean, your lap times after a long run typically fall off, anywhere from, 0.3 of a second to half a second or even more, depending on how long you've been running. So now you got the folks who are sitting up front on old tires, the folks behind them on new tires. They're trying to make their way up front. They want to get to lead. They know track position is very important, but then all of a sudden you have instances like this where people get shoved out of the way, and no one's lifting. Nobody is lifting for anybody.
Yeah, you've got to take advantage of any spot you can get. When somebody gets sideways in front of you, there's no lifting. I mean, you got to be taking as many spots as you can when they're available right there. And you see a couple guys trying to do that, and it ultimately ends up getting themselves into trouble. So at the end of that wreck, your former race leader, Logan Clampett's now up to 14th place, and Austin Edwards is back in 17th here. So those guys are slowly making their way through the field. But that's what I was talking about, Evan. Those guys went all the way back to mid-pack, nearly 20th position. They have a wreck right in front of them, and then, their heart stops for a second. They're like, oh, my goodness, I got to get on the brakes. I got to try not to get hit from behind. And sure enough, both of those guys, Edwards and Clampett, who were up front at the, about that lap 30 mark, have made it through that accident and are keep on trucking here.
And how many times have we seen fast cars in big short track races here, not just on the surface, but everywhere, go down, get some service, end up back in traffic, end up in somebody else's mess, and that decision to come down to the pit lane just catches them at an inopportune time and kind of ruins their night. We talk about all the star power on track as well. Also, happy to have all of you tuning in. I want to give a shout out to Ty Gibbs, who I know is tuning in with us to the broadcast, the 8-time ARCA Menard Series race winner, and happy to have all of you with us here on RaceSpot TV and the iRacing Esports Network and iRacing Live. We're going to go side by side for this next restart, watching the cars up front, but also monitoring Clampett. He did get a handful of spots. He is still the lead car with fresh tires. He'll be restarting in 14th position, and we'll get the unique perspective of watching him deal with this restart. Up next is the lights on the pace car back out, and we are 1/3 of the way through this Winter Bowl Championship race. That time by 51 laps down, 99 to go.
Yeah, just that quick, man. Already 50 laps complete in this race. And you know what is one thing that I like about the way they set up the prizes in this race, Evan? I feel like when there's a big race and, let's say first place pays $3,000, second place pays $2,500. The guy in second is not going to go out there and try and get the win for that extra $500 and maybe cost him a win. In this, it's $7,500 to win, $1,000 for second. So that's going to make it to where nobody's going to settle for that second spot. They're all going to try and go for the victory here tonight. As we ride on board with Logan Clampett as he rolls down the front stretch, we're back underway.
And back to single file for this restart, so you can see race leaders and Clampett looking up to the next car up the road in Tegan Dagenalt. Tons of space, but he's been able to close into the bumper. Does he go to the outside, or does he try to get that preferred positioning? He'll squeeze up against the wall side by side briefly for 13th, and it's his. It's going to be a methodical process of working his way through the field, but also Parker Retzlaff, not to be forgotten, also came down to pit road with Clampett for fresh tires. He got a better restart than Clampett did the last time, so he's now the lead car on fresh tires, already up to position number 10.
Yeah, he's got a lot of cars right in front of him. He's got to try and make it through about 6 cars nose to tail as they work down the back straightaway. Meanwhile, your race leader, still the 6 of Michael Morley, but followed closely by the 86 car of Colin Fern. They work their way down the front straightaway. Fern about a car length behind the 6 of Morley. Everybody kind of in the middle of the speedway in 1 and 2, and kind of the same thing down there in 3 and 4, but there is a little bit of variation, I feel like. If you kind of can go maybe a half lane higher than where everybody else is at, or maybe a half lane lower, you are able to make passes, and there we go. We see one right there. The the 4th spot now belongs to the 97 of Daniel Silvestri. He goes by Caden Anderson and takes over P4.
And behind them, a challenge as well, as Kenny Brady was trying to make some moves. There's a couple of cars swerving down the back straightaway. Everybody trying to block and protect positions as those cars with the fresh tires start to mingle with the drivers on old ones. But a great opportunity for Morley here to lead some laps. Again, was a top 10 car, could consider it a gamble, the fact that he decided to stay out, because now he's off cycle with basically everybody else who qualified up front. But it's working out so far for that 6 car, leading laps despite missing the front end of that car and pulling an advantage over this battle for second on the back, where Colin Fern's going to be under fire.
I was going to say, man, I can't believe that Michael Morley is out front and pulling away with no front bumper at the moment. The caution has come back out here for somebody taking a spin around. It looks like possibly Cody McKinney in the car number 47, also the 99 of Colton Salick. They have both gone around, but that is impressive. I just realized that when they showed that camera down the back straightaway, that Michael Morley is up front in this race with the radiator showing on the front of that race car. He is making it happen. Michael Morley making a name for himself here tonight in the Omega Cup Winter Bowl here. And there's the contact right there. It looked like Storm Patterson got into the back of Salick and spun him around. A single car accident right there, backs it in the wall. Not too much damage, but obviously Salick not going to be happy as he goes to the back of the field.
Well, I don't think those guys were meaning to race hard enough to take each other out, Jesse, when they're fighting for 33rd and 34th, but that's kind of an example of how things can snowball. We talked about Storm winning the qualifying race that we covered last night. He started, about 12th, I think, in this one, but got involved in an incident, finds himself back in traffic. Maybe you start to get a little bit rushed, right? And you start to panic a little bit, and I think that's just a little bit of overdriving, not what Storm meant to do, but that's what happens when you take a car that's up at the front of the field. He's in a wreck, he gets back in traffic, and you kind of start to stress out and just overdriving there at the expense of Salick, I think.
Yeah, most definitely. People will be overdriving these corners. It's really easy to do it at a place like Nashville. It's hard to find a true mark to use on this track. I mean, you're picking and choosing different lanes all race. You're not always going to the bottom. You're not always going to the middle. You're not always going to the top. It just depends on what the situation is. So it's very, very easy to overdrive this corner because you have that variable banking here that really helps you stick. And people are going to throw it into the corner. But when they do, sometimes you see situations like that. The drivers, they got to have a little bit of patience and understand, hey, it's not always pertinent to get that position right there. But at the same time, you're going to see battles happening all throughout the track. Just because you're not in first or second or fourth or fifth doesn't mean you don't have the right to battle. Everyone has a right to go get the position that they want to go get, whether you're in first or you're all the way back in 40th. So you're going to see drivers battling all across the field, and everyone's just trying to fight just to show what they got. Some people feel like, hey, I don't have a shot to win, but some people feel like, you know what, I'm going to showcase to the world and all of the viewers watching that, hey, I am good at iRacing, I'm a good sim racer, and I'm going to show the world what I can do tonight.
I mean, quite literally, not just, a figure of speech, but quite literally some of the best in this race. When you talk about guys, like Logan Clampett, driver in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, and, some of the other drivers that I mentioned that have raced in the eNASCAR Ignite series and some of those prestigious, leagues and events, and also official racing here on the iRacing service. So it is still going to be Morley up front, but those cars and fresh tires have made some progress. Retzlaff still leading the charge. He'll be 7th chase for this restart. Logan Clampett up to the number 8 position. So they aren't blazing their way through, but they're definitely picking up spots at a pretty good rate.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think they really want to be blazing their way through with some of the guys up here on these old tires, man. It's been kind of sketchy to watch them come off the corner and get a little bit sideways and, come down the track and try and hang on to that thing as best as they can. I even saw one of our top 3 drivers there on that last run have a moment off of turn number 2, nearly lost the handling on the race car. So if I was Retzlaff and Clampett, I think that pace they're going right now, nice and easy through the field, pick off a car or 2 a lap, and that'll work out good for them. Single file restart. Your race leader is Michael Morley, followed by Colin Fern, and then behind him it's the 15 car of Michael Sturgill as the field goes back into 1 and 2.
That was very interesting to see how they restarted right there. Everyone started at that top line and decided to go from there, and it's just crazy seeing just how everybody goes to that follow the leader mentality. Nobody decided to be a little bit different. Everyone was like, hey, if that race leader is going to start at the top lane and take the restart from there, let's all do it too. So it's interesting to see all the different strategies play out. And some of the folks in here, this is the first time they're racing against really, really good iRacers. So they're just trying to learn. They're trying to figure this out. Maybe they've never tried that before, but hey, if that race leader is up there leading, I'm going to do the same thing he's doing too.
Retzlaff able to get by Caden Anderson on for the restart. Now Clampett trying to do the same, but Anderson holding strong on the outside. That battle for 6th and 7th up the road. Retzlaff once more, side by side between Sturgill and Silvestri. And it's going to be to the inside for Retzlaff. That 42 car, he'll sneak his way through. Now up to position number 4, and not done yet. Clampett still stuck fighting with Anderson, as Retzlaff now separating himself with that 4-tire advantage.
Yeah, Parker Retzlaff getting away from Logan Clampett right now is a huge deal, as Clampett finally gets by the number 37 car of Caden Anderson. So move Clampett back up to 6th place as the 42 of Retzlaff now closes in a little bit more on the 3rd place car of Daniel Silvestri. How about the race for the lead, though? Colin Fern is pushing around Morley. He looks to the inside of Morley now off of turn number 4, racing for the lead down the front straightaway as they come across that time to complete lap number 70.
Morley took over the race lead when a caution flag came out, and we had a split decision on pit road. Could Colin Fern drive to the race lead for the first change for P1 under green tonight? He's not on his own. Silvestri right there 3rd. Retzlaff, the caboose in P4. It'll be a great fight for the lead, as that was Retzlaff a little bit that time loose. Now high in the corner, Colin Fern over drove turn number 1, and Silvestri, the C's part for him. He'll stroll to 2nd spot, and Retzlaff follows to P3.
Retzlaff up to 3rd. Now move Colin Fern back to the 4th position. The 99 of Clampett in P5 and closing in very, very quickly. Last time by, Clampett in 18.540 to Michael Morley, your race leader, 18.830. The top 5 cars nose to tail now. Look at Silvestri trying to fight for this race lead now down the front straightaway as Morley tags the wall. Silvestri to the inside, turn 1.
Off and into the inside wall. We're still good. Now leaning on each other for the lead. The 97 car trying to pull the advantage. Morley can't defend. They're going to touch maybe in the center of 3 and 4. New race leader. It's Daniel Silvestri. But for how long? Retzlaff, for the 2nd time in a row, uses that pass to part the seas for him. He goes to P2. He wants more. How long? Till he challenges to the inside in 3. And Silvestri's reign short-lived. It's now Retzlaff to the top of the board.
And it's going to be tough to beat that driver up front now, but there is some lap cars, 1 car to deal with for your race leader. That is Cody McKinney. He'll probably give way to the race leader, Parker Retzlaff, right here on the back straightaway. Retzlaff to the inside. He'll put that 47 car by the wayside, and he will stroll on by in a complete lap number 76 this time by. Silvestri still 2nd. Clampett trying to make his way back through the field. He made it by Michael Morley that time by the stripe. So now Clampett up to 3rd and looking to track down the 97 of Silvestri, who led only 1 lap right there up front. He was from 15th to the lead, so whatever happens here tonight, Daniel Silvestri, one of the underdogs here in this field, has really impressed me here this evening.
Doing a great job at holding his own. He is going to be under fire, I think, by Clampett shortly, but to be honest, for the 20-lap difference that those 2 drivers have on tires, he's not doing that bad. And look at the mid-pack, not nearly as spread out as what we're seeing up at the front. 3 wide with some lap traffic. That's Jackson Crowder working the inside, trying to pass Caden Anderson. They did a good job of navigating the 47, and they'll stay on each other's door. This one a fight for 7th and 8th.
The 18 car right there behind him, that's Austin Edwards along with the 9 of Garrett Conrath. Remember, Conrath was up inside the top 3 early in this race, and Crowder got into the back of him, shoved him into the outside wall. Conrath has made a nice recovery, now back into the 10th spot and challenging with the 18 car of Austin Edwards as they swap spots right in front of Edwards. Caden Anderson gets passed by the 54 of Crowder, and now Anderson going to be under fire from Edwards, who looks to the inside off of turn number 4. But back up front, it is all Parker Retzlaff as Clampett makes the move for 2nd.
Trying to challenge on Silvestri. It's his, so he moves to the number 2 spot. Now let's see what these 2 drivers can do head-to-head. Logan Clampett started on pole. Parker Retzlaff was 13th on the grid, but it was Retzlaff better, sooner, on those fresh tires, quickly passed Clampett and led the charge all the way to the race lead. Now, with no traffic in between them, who's the better car? The difference last time, 0.785 seconds. This time through, it's going to be basically the same. Very little gain either direction. 1st and 2nd, very even with one another. And I think I saw a fight a little bit further back. It's Morley and Fern. We're all over each other there at a turn number 2. Nothing comes from it, but both those cars got a little bit high up the hill in the battle for 4th.
Yeah, Caden Anderson with a little mistake right there through 3 and 4 opens the door up for Austin Edwards. He takes a peek underneath of him for the 8th position. But, man, those guys up front running nearly identical lap times every single lap as the caution has come out. 2-3 cars stopped on the front straightaway. Cale Gale is one of them, along with Mitchell Hunt. So 2 cars around on the front stretch, and we've got 83 laps complete, well over halfway through this one.
Yeah, it has the halfway point. First incident tonight for Cale Gale, who's had a pretty quiet one. And now on the home side of things, as we'll start to count down to the end, Matt Casto, it's been a good start to this one so far here from Nashville. And certainly a very exciting beginning to this main event. I'm sure a lot of excitement still to come.
Man, I am fired up, got the popcorn, and just watching some serious men and women up here in the booth. But, man, I'm excited for the viewers again. We talked about Epic Buffet for the competitors, $10,000 cash, Oculus Quest 2s. But for the viewers, for everybody watching, we're having some commercials that are about to run. You're going to see the NFL all-time leading rusher, Emmitt Smith, in a spot that's going to debut. If you would love to meet Emmitt Smith in a virtual setting, we know COVID has taken fans out of the stands at all kinds of sporting events. And listen, there's a way to connect virtually better than ever before, just like this sim racing platform through iRacing. Notable Live, one of our partners, one of Jesse's partners, has a spot. Emmitt Smith, if you take a screenshot, if you send that in a message to Notable Live, they're going to pick 5 random winners, and you're going to go live in the room with Emmitt Smith for the Cowboys 49ers game this weekend. One other crazy thing about this platform that Emmitt has with Notable Live, Larry Fitzgerald, one of the all-time best receivers to play in the National Football League. This week, there's going to be a microchip in his jersey during the live game, and we're going to be auctioning that off live while the game's happening. We did it with Ezekiel Elliott last week. Notable Live is an incredible platform. You're going to see a commercial about a sweepstakes for those of you sitting at home looking to get into this sim racing. Jesse talked about that ultimate at-home sim racing setup. And then the last thing I'll share is a commercial spot by the Red List Group, our title sponsor for tonight. This is a company that Jesse Owuji started to get into racing, to fund his racing, where he takes racetracks and puts on live events. I can't wait for these spots to show. Thanks for everybody joining in.
Hey you, have you downloaded the Notable Live app yet? If not, you are missing out on a real-time, face-to-face conversation with me and my fellow notables. On Notable Live, I can hold exclusive virtual events for fans like you so we can connect live, play tribute, and even bid on live auction items. All you gotta do is just download the mobile app today or click on the link in my bio to create your free account so you can check out what notable events I have coming up next. And I hope to see you in the room.
And back live for the virtual Nashville Fairground Speedway, Parker Retzlaff still leading this one as we work lap number 90 of 150 here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. The big change there under that last yellow, of course, is the challenger had been Logan Clampett for that number 1 position. Of course, now Daniel Silvestri, Jackson Crowder, Austin Edwards, and Timmy Holmes running inside of the top 5. Bit of damage on Richie Coy there, running P8 right now. Up there's Clampett in the 99 machine. He finds himself now back in traffic, so that is a change as he was just down on pit road.
Yeah, and Clampett really hoping that we get a little bit of a green flag run here and then a caution, and then he's got to hope that those guys that are running up front right now, they go down pit road and hopefully take tires, because that gamble that he tried to take there, Evan, I feel like it's not going to work out at this point in time. I mean, he went all the way back to around 20th place. He makes it by a car right there. Now he's up to 16th, but by the time, oh, there's a caution right there. Yellow is out. We might have a car stopped on the front straightaway, and we do.
A couple of drivers, I think Cody McKinney came on the scene a little bit late. I think that spin is going to be for Tom Wetmore. We'll take a second look in a minute to see if that is where it came from. Your race leaders were fine. There's that 51 machine, and you can see a bit of kind of de facto 3 wide. Not really sure of the positioning there, and maybe checked up a bit for the side device that actually in front of him, got tagged from behind, and a pretty easy spin. Didn't really hit much, kept it going, but it is enough for race control to throw the caution flag, so we slow things back down once more. And now your race leaders are pitting, so here's the opposite side of that pit strategy, right? We saw Logan Clampett pit last time. This time he will not, but all your other race leaders are in. So Retzlaff on pit road with Crowder, with Edwards, with Silvestri. The call probably going to be for that final set of 4 tires. Remember, they were limited to 2 additional sets. Mainly everybody pitted closer to that 1/3 marker, lap 50 or 60, so you're probably going to go 4 to the end. Drag race off a pit road for these two, going to be won by Retzlaff over Silvestri, but now they find themselves back into the strategy in some 22nd position.
Wowzers, that really shakes it up a lot right there. We know Retzlaff is probably the car to beat if you've been watching this race so far. It's definitely between him, the 99 of Clampett, and you can maybe throw Daniel Silvestri into that conversation as well. But with this pit strategy right now, I think it's up in the air as to who's going to win this thing. And we got Daniel Eberhardt is leading this race after being involved in an accident, and he is now up front, followed by Kyle Sisko and Mac McMillan. So a couple of names that we haven't talked about all that much here tonight are now leading this race with just under, well, getting close to the 50 lap to go mark here. So if we get a couple more yellows and, maybe Clampett or Retzlaff find themselves in some kind of issue here, we might see an upset winner here tonight, which, I love seeing upset winners, and especially when there's big money on the line. Daniel Eberhardt, Kyle Sisko, and Mac McMillan here are looking like they're in really good position.
Pacing yourself's huge, because we've been talking so much about this race and all the different aspects of sim racing, Jesse, and all of a sudden, there's 53 laps to go. So at this point now, we're talking about, it's a 150-lap race, much longer than the qualifiers. You can kind of ride it out for a little bit and survive. But I think at this point now that most everybody's come down pit road for the final time, I mean, it's go time. I don't think you can really be cutting anybody any breaks at this point on.
No, definitely not. I'm interested to see here, Jesse, if they end up going back double file restart. I think that's going to be a huge thing that the drivers are looking for here, to hear from Race Control what the call is on that as we are getting ready to go back to green.
Yeah, most definitely. There's so much on the line right now. And yeah, I mean, with almost 50 laps left to go, their strategy's going to change. I think everyone's gotten tires who want to get tires. I don't know if anyone will still go back in for tires at any point for the rest of this race, maybe, unless they haven't gotten it. But a lot of different strategies are going to change. It's now really time to put your pants on and let's go. It's going to be a big fight right here. We're still single file, so that hopefully makes it a little bit cleaner. But I think we're going to see some nice little battles. So, yeah, pace car lights out. Let's see what happens.
And single file makes 22nd feel a lot further away from the front of the field than it does if they were side by side. So we'll see how those drivers with fresh tires, led by Retzlaff, in 21st position are going to do, at least up front. Daniel Eberhardt takes the green flag. He was in the first yellow flag of this race. He's your leader, lap number 99.
And this goes to show that you're never out of these things on iRacing.com, man. You could think you're down and out, but sure enough, you're leading it a couple laps later. So Daniel Eberhardt showing the way as Clampett and Retzlaff start to make their march towards the front of the field. Clampett gets by the number 81 car, River Hayes, so move the 99 of Clampett back up to 6th place now. And, Retzlaff, I feel like, Evan, was able to get through traffic a lot faster than Clampett. I'm not saying Clampett was slow getting through traffic, but Retzlaff had a little bit of a different pace. He was a lot more aggressive making his passes here, and he's going to have to do that because, as you mentioned, that single file restart put him, probably close to a half track behind your race leader by the time we went green.
Yeah, immediately, and that's what he's going to have to make up for. And there's basically 3 or 4 strategies right now. So your top 4 cars are all on older tires than Logan Clampett. So the 99 machine, again, pitted before a majority of the race leaders did. You're on board with him on the right-hand side as he goes and makes the pass for 4th, getting around Bailey Gelinas. So that spot is his. But then there's also the cars who pitted most recently. That's Retzlaff and Silvestri back in 19th and 20th. So you could see somebody else sneak in here, but I think at the moment, Clampett in the best position. He now goes to the inside on the back of McMillan. That spot is his. Make it position number 3.
Logan Clampett now up to the 3rd spot, but your race leader, Daniel Eberhardt, doing a great job up front. He is driving car number 90. Kyle Sisko in 2nd. As we take a look at the replay here, the number 96 machine has a close call right here. Joshua Latka, as you see on the right side of your screen, gets tapped from behind, but what a great save. Yeah, what a save right there. Some great driving by that 96 car of Joshua Latka to keep his car going the right direction and keep us under green now as Clampett applies the pressure to the 12 car of Kyle Sisko for 2nd.
Got to be at least the 2nd time I think we've seen the 96 machine to make quite a save like that. I think last time he got run over after we saved it. This time he doesn't. We're green. Here's the fight for 2nd. Clampett looking on the bumper. We've already seen quite the aggressive bumps and runs tonight. How aggressive will Logan Clampett be? Sisko also just trying to fight for the race lead in this one. But Clampett knows he can't get hung up too much in a battle for 2nd to allow Eberhardt to get away. To the inside he goes, side by side at lap 106. Sisko's not going to roll over. He'll defend that time off of turn 4.
Yeah, and Sisko thought about throwing the block at Clampett down into turn number 3, kind of turned back to the right of the racetrack there to not throw that block, and he's doing a great job holding off Logan Clampett right now. So Kyle Sisko on the outside of the racetrack has that momentum down the straightaways to keep that 99 car behind him. And I think it's going to be a couple of laps here for the 99 of Clampett to make the pass there on the 12 machine, because that outside groove is pretty good here, especially when you keep him pinched down on the bottom. Oh, Sisko sideways. What another great save right there. Wow, but he's going to lose 2nd down the front straightaway. Man, these guys are on the wheel tonight.
We talk about how easy it is to overdrive the corners here at Nashville, and when you're maybe spending most of your time looking in the rear view mirror, I think it's even more so. And it was a great save by Sisko, but in the end he loses out in that fight. There's your 2nd look right hand side at how it went down. Here we go now. Daniel Eberhardt being chased down by Logan Clampett in a battle for the race lead. Next time by, gonna be 40 laps to go. He's got a better run this time at a 2. Doesn't make the move yet. How patient can Clampett afford to be with still quite some time left to go on the scoring pylon?
And Parker Retzlaff is very quickly making his way back towards the top 10. He's just outside, I believe, in 12th place right now. Oh, and he gets teared. Oh, and Retzlaff is around, and he is getting some big damage. Multiple cars piling in. Yeah, just outside the top 10 as Clampett was looking to make the move for the lead, but the yellow comes out for race high leader, man. The 42 Retzlaff had a ton of laps led in this one, but he gets turned right here, and you'll take a look at it right here.
I think Retzlaff might have needed a yellow there to group the field up, Jesse, but he definitely didn't need to be the yellow. And there's the tap from behind that sent him around as he got some help. I think that was from the 37 car of, maybe that was Caden Anderson behind.
Yeah, they're battling it out, and I was watching that the whole time. We had a really good battle up front, but when you can see it from those different camera angles, you could tell that, from somewhere around like 10th to 20th, people were going 2 to 3 wide that entire time, and I'm surprised they were able to actually keep it clean and keep the racing going for that long, but they were really, really diving in there. I mean, they're fighting. Everybody's fighting on the track. There is not a single boring moment right now happening on this track, and even with the single file restarts, people are still making it happen. If you do single file on maybe like a 1.5 mile track or something like that, it can get pretty boring real quick. But when you do it at a track like this, Nashville, where you have so many opportunities to pass high, low, middle, the racing just gets good.
And more pit strategy, by the way. We see some cars down. So we had already mentioned a majority of the field had come in and get their final set of tires. You had about a half a dozen cars, maybe 8 or 7 tops, from like the top 15 or so come down to the pit road. There's your 2nd look at the touch that sent Retzlaff around and has basically ruined his night after climbing from 21st to 12th on that run, had a real good look and maybe catching up to Logan Clamp at the challenge for the race lead, backing it into the wall. No good for him, and that makes the kind of new leader on that strategy actually Daniel Silvestri, who's in position number 6 on only 19 lap-old tires compared to some 30 lap-old tires for Clampett and 65, guys, lap-old tires for your race leader, Daniel Eberhardt.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive to be able to hang on to it for that long. But I'd like to bring in one of the guys that is, behind the scenes making this thing happen, Sean Yoder. Sean, what's going on, man?
I just wanted to take 2 seconds, man. It's Sean from eRacing Association. Just wanted to take 2 seconds and thank all of the fans and drivers that are watching on the streams that we have live right now. The streams have been active all night long. It's been great seeing everybody interacting and having a good time, man. It's been interesting watching the race. These guys are going after it. There's a lot of money at stake, but we're trying to get them calmed down. We're trying to make this as clean as we possibly can for the run to the end. But like I said, thank you so much to everyone watching right now. There are literally hundreds of you across various platforms, and it's just awesome to see and interact with every one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in to the eRacing Association, and I will turn it back over to you guys because you guys are killing it in the booth. Great job.
We appreciate that, Sean, as the lights go out on top of the pace car. And race control has sent us back to double file restarts for this one. We've got less than 40 laps to go here from Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, and we are just about ready to give away $7,500 to the race winner. Here we go, pace car into the infield. It's the 90 of Daniel Eberhardt, the 99 of Logan Clampett as they work off of turn number 4. Eberhardt's on the gas, and Colin Fern with a great restart back behind him. He'll pull up alongside Clampett down the front stretch.
And the side-by-side restart going to give an immediate challenge to Clampett. On the bottom is Fern. Oh, there's going to be a spin behind. A couple of cars, and now a yellow is all the way around with that bright red. I think it was the 67 machine of Cisco, or no, it might have been Timmy Holmes back there. A touch and a quick yellow. Let's take a second look in just a moment at how that happened, and that will result in a change for position number 2. We'll get to that in a moment. Here's your second look at the run down to turn number 1. The race leaders were fine. There's the touch, though. The 94 was the first one into the wall. Then the 54 was that bright red car up against the wall in turn number 2. So yellow at 33 to go. That battle for second was not decided, but at the moment of yellow, Colin Fern had a nose in front of Logan Clampett. Therefore, he will be scored second, and that's going to boot the 99 car back to row 2 for the next restart.
And I want to point out here that we thought Parker Retzlaff was out of this race there, Evan, because of that big wreck. I mean, we saw Michael Morley leading this race earlier, minus the front bumper, radiator showing, all of his suspension showing on the front end, and he was out front. Retzlaff is still going, and he's currently in the 10th spot with some of the best tires inside the top 10. I'm not really sure how that damage is going to affect him. The left front tire is pretty beat up there as we take a look at that last accident there. But Retzlaff, he was so fast earlier on. I feel like with this damage, he might be, maybe a little bit slower, but still in the top 10, and I still think he's got a shot at maybe running up into the top 5 and grabbing some prize money here tonight.
It's not just the very top step. Of course, everybody wants to walk away with the $7,500 first place prize, but $1,000 goes to second, $750 to third, $500 to fourth, $250 to fifth. Also, everybody in the field here entered in for another drawing to win an Oculus Quest 2. And, to see somebody like an Eberhardt at the front of the field right now, of course, see him on Monday nights here on Race Spot TV with the Real Sim Racing IRAPS Winner Series. You got guys like Colin Fern or are in some of the top stuff all over the sim. Logan Clampett, a Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver. Silvestri, Sturgill, Retzlaff. Those are big short track names. Real-life drivers, Landon Huffman and O'Kale Gales had a bit of a rough night, quietly back in the pack, but he's another guy in the Gale Force entry back there who jumps off the page. I was not exaggerating when I said at the start of this race, guys, that this is one of the biggest races of the sim racing calendar for 2020. I mean, it's a who's who through the field. And again, prize money in this single event that equals and tops some of the biggest payouts for season-long championships in the sim racing world. So that's a big thing to keep in mind as well. Also, we are going to go back to single file restart, so that should benefit the 90 car in theory. Don't forget though, Fern, Clampett, and even Garrett Conrath, not to count out the 9 car guys in 4th, all those guys pitted on the same lap. So Clampett's on equal tires with those 2 cars both in front and behind him.
Yeah, Conrath was super good early in the race. Remember, he got shot. He got a shot from behind, I should say, by the 54 of Jackson Crowder, put him up into the wall. But he went to the pits, got that car fixed up, and now here he is, right on the back bumper of Logan Clampett. Now his single file restart is going to make it to where Clampett's now got to pass 2 cars instead of the 1 on the last restart here. So this is going to get really interesting, and we're closing in on 25 laps to go. Great start for Eberhardt. Not a good start at all for Colin Fern as he loses 3 car lengths down the front straightaway. Fern will go to the top of the racetrack in 1 and 2, clamp it to the inside, but that topside momentum is going to carry Fern down the backstretch and into second place.
And Clampett was hanging it out that time at turn 2. The back end was sideways. He'll drive it in again, but for the moment, Colin Fern good enough to defend for second. And if they're busy fighting for P2, could Daniel Eberhardt sneak away? They also fight now 4th on back as Conrath and Silvestri go side by side. But Clampett now with the nose in front. Can he clear for second? Yes, he can. Now sets his sight on the race leader. It's a 6 car length difference.
How can the 90 car of Eberhardt hang on to this thing with the oldest tires inside the top 10? If he can do it, it'll be a story for the ages and one of the biggest paychecks he's probably ever received in his life. The 99 of Clampett closing in on him here down the front straightaway. 24 laps to go here from Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. And here comes the 99 all over the 90 car of Eberhardt down the back straightaway.
Nearly just saw a big spin on the front straightaway. I think that was Michael Sturgill, who was way off to the inside wall, but he hanged onto it. No yellow or green. Oh, and contact for the lead. Clampett turns Eberhardt. He drops to the bottom. No yellow. There it is now. Colin Fern to the lead, and man, oh man, for $7,500, he took him out.
Wow. Well, people are really doing anything in their power to get that 7,500. Tempers are flaring. We have 23 laps left in this race, and people are like, you know what? I don't care about respect right now. It doesn't matter. I'm fighting for the money. I'm taking this home. I'm going to make my life this time around. Wow, that was crazy.
And is that a block there, Jesse, by Eberhardt? I mean, he was a little bit up the hill. It looked like Clampett was setting him up, right? He entered the corner high, went to cut underneath him, and they both found each other at the same point as here's the slow-mo.
I mean, I'm looking at that. That's just looking like he's sending a statement. He's like, I'm getting that money tonight. I'm getting that money tonight. Wow. It's great. Everyone's fighting. It's a battle. I mean, there's battles going on throughout the whole track. There's not a single boring moment. As you can see, driving in right here, puts the bumper on him, gets him a little bit sideways, avoids it, gets by.
And it's Fern in third, right, who's minding his P's and Q's, who finds a way through Chase. There's no denying that with that tire advantage, Clampett was the faster of the cars, but he had gotten to him, 15 laps ago. At that point, I questioned how patient can he be, but this race was starting to click down to 20 to go. Obviously, he felt like the challenge from behind was enough that it had to happen there.
Yeah, wowzers. And I was talking about it earlier on, and the reason I really like the way the prize is set up in this thing, $7,500 to win, obviously, as we mentioned, but $1,000 for second. That's a pretty big gap right there, and that's going to make these guys not just settle for that second spot. I mean, sure, $1,000 is absolutely incredible to win on an iRacing race, but to get one more spot better and get that another $6,500. There's nobody that's going to settle for second here tonight, and Clampett was showing it right there. He has got to get by these guys if he wants to win this race, and now Colin Fern finds himself in a fantastic spot here with less than 20 to go. If he can hang on and just kind of, do what he was doing early and maintain the top of the racetrack and not allow Clampett to get off the corner right next to him, then Colin Fern, a guy that I would not have guessed to win this race, might be able to pull it off here tonight.
We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside, but we'll go Race Spot TV nonstop so you don't miss a moment. Colin Fern leads with 20 laps to go.
Hey, you. Have you downloaded the Notable Live app yet? If not, you are missing out on a real-time, face-to-face conversation with me and my fellow notables. On Notable Live, I can hold exclusive virtual events for fans like you so we can connect live, play tribute, and even bid on live auction items. All you gotta do is just download the mobile app today or click on the link in my bio to create your free account so you can check out what notable events I have coming up next. And I hope to see you in the room.
Green flag flies at a restart with 18 laps to go. Colin Fern gets away. It's Clampett second, Silvestri third, Conrath, Crowder, your top five. Does anybody have a late race move for the 86?
Colin Fern, man, trying to pull it off here tonight and make an upset victory in front of thousands of viewers and a big paycheck on the line here. 15 laps to go when he comes across the line, this time by with one of the best in the business, Logan Clampett, trying to track him down. But don't count out the third place car of Daniel Silvestri. He's got the same tires that Clampett's got, and he's right there in his back pocket as they work back into 1 and 2.
And here's Clampett on the bottom. Remember, it was Fern in third the last time, but it was contact between Clampett and Eberhard. So is P3 a good spot to be in for Silvestri? Fern leaves the bottom open. Clampett trying to dig here on board on the right-hand side. That time, 15 laps to go from Nashville. It's a three-way fight for the win. Clampett to the inside, but it won't stick.
Silvestri, a big run down the back straight. He'll look to the inside. He gets into the back of him.
Oh, it takes ball!
Oh, they're wrecking! They're wrecking! Oh, and it's on the side.
Clampett spins out of 4.
They're still wrecking.
More cars are involved. And man, oh man, it was Fern with the run chase. You saw it coming. He went to the inside of Clampett, but at the same time as that, Logan Clampett tried to go back to the inside on Silvestri. Right there, there's move 1, there's move 2, and Clampett, therefore, slides into Colin Fern, and Daniel Silvestri comes out as the race leader as Clampett sees maybe $7,500 go away.
Man, you put the big money on the line at a track like this, and you will have the fireworks flying. I mean, that was unbelievable right there. That's what everybody turned this stream on. That's what everybody, tuned into this race for, is to see drama like that between, an average Joe like Colin Fern and one of the top dogs like Logan Clampett going at. Look at Fern climbing the wall right there. And sure enough, Daniel Silvestri just sneaks right on by, and that 97 car has put himself in prime position for the race win tonight. Boob Jackson Crowder up to second. Parker Retzlaff, who we thought was out of this thing, is now in third. Conrath fourth, and River Hayes in fifth.
Colin Fern has to pit to get damage repaired. Logan Clampett split all the way around, and he falls to 28th position, Jesse, with the money on the line, just like Chase said right there. I think it's no holds bar, and all 3 of our race leaders getting together.
It was interesting to see for sure. I knew something like this was going to happen in those last 15 laps of the race. People are going to be fighting. They're battling it out. There's so much money on the line. And like we've been mentioning, that gap between first and second place prizes. I mean, $7,500 down to $1,000, then the $750. If I'm looking at $750, yeah, that's all right. It's going to buy a few Christmas presents this year. But if I get $7,500, I mean, that takes care of me, especially during this pandemic that we have right now. I mean, you can use that money for a lot of different things, including getting your own business going, maybe buying a car, putting a down payment on something. I don't know, but people are going to do whatever it takes to get it. And as you can see, that's happening right here, right now.
Look at the wheel movement on both those guys. Even through that whole slide, they were trying to catch it, and Fern just ran out of real estate. Clampett was in there as well, and what a heartbreaking end for those two drivers, right? As Fern ends up on the guardrail. in turn number 4. Kept it inside the park, though, but that ends effectively both of their nights, at least for the money. Again, only the top 5 going to pay out. And, if I'm somebody maybe like a River Hayes, Chase, we haven't talked much about, hey, I'm P5. I'm in the money. I might be happy, but you guys are exactly right. The difference between 1, 2, and this are huge. I want that win. Silvestri's got it. What does Jackson Crowder do? We're going to be 9 to go next time by.
And you remember back, early in this race, Jackson Crowder was handing out the bumper to people for like 12th place on lap 5. I mean, he is not messing around here tonight, and his car looks like it's in great shape. No damage, no dings, no dents. The paint's all on it. His car is in great shape. Not really sure what his tire situation is looking like. It might be better than the 97 of Silvestri. The pace car's off. We've got a 9-lap shootout for $10,000 off of turn number 4. Silvestri back through the gears, and we're back underway.
And a good jump. He has 2 car lengths, this time at 1 and 2. Don't count out Retzlaff, who was backed into the fence no more than 20 minutes ago. Can he get a shot at redemption? He goes and puts the bumper to Crowder, moving the 54 up the road. Here comes Retzlaff. He wants second. They touch out of 4, and he'll take the spot at 1.
And now, and Crowder tried to run back into him, but ran over the right rear quarter panel there, and he shoves up the racetrack, and he's out of the mix now as Retzlaff. He's got 7 laps to make up, what is that, maybe a second or so on the 97 car of Daniel Silvestri is going for, without a doubt, the biggest win of his iRacing career, maybe even in his real racing career if he's even got one. Silvestri trying to run away and hide from the number 42 car of Parker Retzlaff as they work down the front straightaway to 5 laps to go.
Last time by, the difference between them was 0.6 of a second. This time through, it grows to 0.7 of a second. Daniel Silvestri, one of the fastest cars on track, in position 1. 5 laps to go this time by. He's got the advantage. He's just got a hope and a prayer that the rest of the field can keep themselves together.
And wow, he got close right there off of turn 4, nearly scraped the wall. And now the caution's back out. Yellow, that's going to set us up with an absolute dogfight to the end. Wow.
Wow.
I mean, this is going to be a green-white checkered, I believe there, Evan.
I claim no responsibility for saying that he wanted the field to keep it together, and then there's an immediate yellow. That's the one thing that Daniel Silvestri did not need. Can he hold on to the next restart? Absolutely. But is he going to get 6, 7 car lengths in front? Probably not. There's the contact. It's William Karp into the fence in a battle for 15th position. Almost held on to it. 1 bobble, 2 bobbles, and then back down across traffic. And that was enough for the caution flag to come out. And this will extend us, I believe, to overtime if necessary. And the restart's now going to go back to double file. So what an awful turn of events for Daniel Silvestri. And what a great opportunity here, I should say, for Parker Retzlaff to revive a race that, Chase, I had said no more than 10 minutes ago was probably done when he was charging through the field and got wrecked into the fence. What a comeback that would be if that number 42 car can close this out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But, man, I think there's a lot of people right now that are watching this race that are pulling for Daniel Silvestri. They love to see an underdog story. Everybody knows the accomplishments that Parker Retzlaff has had, not only on iRacing but in real life. Obviously, it'd be great to see him win, but to see an underdog story, an average Joe like Daniel Silvestri, car number 97, who started way back in the 15th spot to pick up this win tonight in front of a sold-out crowd in the virtual stands and thousands watching online. It would be a Cinderella story, if I do say so myself. I mean, he's leading it. Retzlaff second, Conrath, Crowder, and from 30th place up to 5th, River Hayes, who we talked about just a few moments ago, is having the run of his life right now and looking good for a pretty solid payday as well.
Same overtime rules as last night in the qualifier. We will have 3 attempts if necessary at a green-white checkered finish. Our qualifier race needed 2. Daniel Silvestri, I'm sure, just wants to get it done ASAP. And, of course, for all the times tonight, from the front of the field to the back of the field, at which we've seen somebody put the bumper to somebody, Silvestri has to be concerned, Jesse, that could be coming.
Yeah, he's definitely getting the bumper. I can guarantee it. Somebody's giving somebody the bumper. In fact, those top 4, top 5, they now have the opportunity with this double file restart. These guys have a shot right now for the win. The single file makes it a little bit tough, but when you're in double file, even if I'm sitting in third, 35th, I still feel like I can win this race, and you're going to see a lot of craziness happen right here. Let's see if they can keep it together. I don't know. Honestly, I doubt they can.
Doubled up, maybe your last opportunity. Of course, Retzlaff maybe in the catbird seat, but if it's a good jump for Silvestri Chase, that 9 of Garrett Conrath behind the leader might be able to fire off better than Retzlaff, make it a fight for second first, and then set his sights for the race lead.
Yeah, and you got to be thinking that some of these guys, they don't want to have a bad rap on their sheet. You know, if they get in the back of somebody here and turn them for the race lead, then they're going to have that, you know, on their back for a long time coming, knowing they turn some guy and they're going to lose fans and whatnot. But you got to think, maybe they're laying down in bed at night, they didn't make that move, and they're like, man, if I would have just drove it in a little bit deeper, then I could have had a big paycheck. It's going to happen right here, man. Something wild is about to happen. The pace car is off. A green-white checker finish to end this one. The green flag is out. Retzlaff with a fantastic restart right there. He's all over Silvestri as they head back into one.
Does he make the move now on the bumper? They're going to get to the white flag for this race to be official. It's a move up to the inside. New third place is going to be Jackson Crowder. Silvestri still holds. Retzlaff there. He'll drive him up the hill. Trying to go side by side for the race lead. 1 lap to go from Nashville. Retzlaff tucks in line. Silvestri has to hang on for one final set of corners. They touch it in turn 2. Here comes Retzlaff. He'll put the bumper. He moves to 97. Retzlaff on the inside with the bump and run wins the Winter Bowl at Nashville.
$7,500.
Wow, what a textbook move right there by Parker Retzlaff. He was down, but he was not out. He was nearly upside down on his lid. The left front tires hanging out, but Parker Retzlaff just absolutely hammered the back bumper of Daniel Silvestri, and like I like to say it, man, he picked his pocket on the last corner for a big chunk of change right there. Parker Retzlaff, that's why he's one of the best in the business when it comes to iRacing, man. He's won so many big races, but this one right here, Evan, it may top them all.
And you had to have known, if you're Daniel Silvestri, that move is coming. Can he be mad about it? Yes. Is he allowed to? Absolutely. But in terms of executing a bump and run, that's exactly what you want to see, Jesse. Didn't drive into his door, didn't turn him. He just took him away from that preferred line. The 97 didn't spin, and I think Retzlaff thought about it on that opening lap there, coming to the white flag, but we saw him tuck back in line. I think he knew all along that 3 and 4 on the last lap is when he wanted to do it.
Yeah, that was just such an amazing race to watch right there. Drivers really held it together throughout the race. Yeah, started off a little bit slow. Yeah, you know, there was a few wrecks to start and some cautions, but once we really went to that single file restart mode for a majority of that race, it cleaned it up a little bit, but there were still battles. At a place like Nashville, it doesn't matter if you start single file. All it's doing is just help cleaning up the race. So drivers started driving a little bit more clean, but they were making some great passes, and there were great battles happening all throughout the track. But at the end, Parker, wow, great job. Look at that damaged race car right there for the win.
Yeah, would you believe us if we told you that's the race-winning car, right? A lot of the front-end damage coming from that bump and run on the last lap. But again, he wrecked in the final half of this race on a charge to the field, came back to do it. What a job for Parker Retzlaff. Let's take a look at tonight's unofficial results from Nashville. It's Retzlaff with the race win and the $7,500 check. Crowder, Silvestri, Conrath, and Hayes inside of the top 5 get to walk away in the money as well. With Timmy Holmes in P6. Austin Edwards fell back at the last restart to 7th. Brad Patton finishes 8th. It is Bailey Jelinas 9th and Richie Coy your top 10.
11th through 20th, Caden Anderson, car number 35. He was 11th, then Mac McMillan in 12th. Good recovery for Landon Huffman, who was involved in an early accident. He finishes 13th here tonight. Man, late race leader Daniel Eberhardt comes back to finish up in 14th. David Santini in 15th. Then Michael Morley, also an early race leader, was 16th place. Kenny Brady, 17th. Michael McLean, Kenneth Garber, and Colin Fern, another late race leader, ends up in 20th.
21st position goes to Tom Wetmore with Michael Sturgill 22nd, William Karp 23rd, Cale Gale, Seth Hatchell, and Kyle Sisko, the 26 cars that finished this race on the lead lap. The rest of them out of it before it even got to the end. It includes Colton Zalick, Logan Clampett, what could have been instead of P26 tonight for the driver who started on pole ahead of Tegan Diagonalt in 29th and Ryan Farmer P30.
Storm Patterson finished up 43 laps down, 31st. Matthew Lee in 32nd. Joshua Latka in 33rd. Then behind him, Cody McKinney, 34th. 35th went to Daniel Smallwood, 36th, 71 laps down. Jordan Davis Flint. Mitchell Hunt, 37th. Joseph Galata, who had a good run early, ends up 38th, 107 laps down. Aaron Smith, the second, 39th. And Cody Kelly was running second early on, started second in the race, but will ultimately end up in the 40th place.
Look top to bottom at your ERA unofficial race results here for the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside. When we come back, we'll talk with your race winner. You're watching the eRacing Association Omega Cup Winter Bowl Finals. Parker Retzlaff, your 2020 champion. We'll talk with him next on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live.
Hey you, yeah you. Have you downloaded the Notable Live app yet? If not, you are missing out on a real-time, face-to-face conversation with me and my fellow notables. On Notable Live, I can hold exclusive virtual events for fans like you so we can connect live, play tribute, and even bid on live auction items. All you gotta do is just download the mobile app today or click on the link in my bio to create your free account so you can check out what notable events I have coming up next. And I hope to see you in the room.
And back live post-race for the virtual Nashville Fairgrounds for RaceSpot TV's coverage of the eRacing Association Cup Winter Bowl Finals continues here tonight, where Parker Retzlaff is in victory lane and waiting on a $7,500 check. Back into tonight's coverage, though. Evan Pasoka, Chase Rodman upstairs with you, with Tyler Maxson and the entire RaceSpot TV crew behind the scenes. Let's take a look at our move for the race win. It came, Chase, on that 2-lap to go restart right here, and then on the final lap.
Yeah, here we go. Retzlaff making his way down the backstretch. You could already tell right here that something was coming in the last corner. If something didn't happen, I think there was going to be a lot of people disappointed. And you see right there, Evan, just the perfect shot, squared him up in the back bumper to where it wasn't going to turn Daniel Silvestri, but it was going to move him up out of the racing groove. And there you go. The 42 of Retzlaff makes it happen in a photo finish for second right there for Jackson Crowder and Daniel Silvestri. But just an exciting way to cap off this race after 2 days of 650 guys running heat races. We got it down to the top 40, and to have a finish like that to end it all, it just is a cherry on top.
And we're standing by now with your race winner, Parker Retzlaff. Jesse is standing by with him.
Parker, what an amazing race. Tell me, what was going through your mind on that final lap?
I mean, yeah, I knew that I was working with Daniel for some of the race, and I knew I had to make a move, and I didn't want to turn him and have any contact, or like his least amount of contact as possible, and I didn't want to turn him, but I did it just enough to move him out of the way and come out of the way with the win.
That was such a great move right there. And you talk about working with Daniel. So I guess how many friends did you have during this race? And really, as a driver in a race where you're fighting for so much money, can you really have friends?
I mean, yeah, the only person I really worked with was Daniel, and he even said, like, just go for it and whatever happens, happens. So, and he wasn't upset. He said good job and congrats on the win. And I have a lot of respect for Daniel, so it was overall a really fun race.
Where respect is given, respect is earned. I see your car is pretty broken up there. It looks like you were battling all race. Tell us about how the car really handled all race and really where you got all that damage and how you made it up front with that.
Yeah, I pitted a little bit later than Clampett, and I was coming through the field. I think I was like 10th, and I got turned and hit the wall backwards, and I have motor damage, and my car is killed, but it was still just quick enough to be there at the end.
Well, great job, Parker. I know you're excited. You just won $7,500. We will be getting in touch with you pretty soon to let you know how you can retrieve it. Thanks,
Okay,
Parker.
thank you. I have to thank Ponzi, EcoTrax, Iron Horse Loggers, Logload for Kid, Reaper Speed Lab, everyone at Legacy, Sam King for spotting me, and you guys for putting this whole thing on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for thanking your sponsors, too. I know they help you make that happen, and all the sponsors out there for all the cars helping get these guys on track.
That's your race winner, the driver who wins the $7,500 prize, Parker Retzlaff in victory lane here tonight at Asheville. Let's go to the second step of the podium with the driver of the 5-4. That is Jackson Crowder. Jackson, congratulations on a good result in this one. You walk away with $1,000, but I know maybe being that close at the end that you maybe are playing that last lap over a couple of times in your head.
Oh man, I don't really think it was the last lap. About 10 to go, Parker got my bumper, and I just lit the tires up out of the corner and let him by. I think I could have been the one to move Silvestri out the way, but I don't know, man. I won $1,000.
Yeah, not a bad night. Tell us about this whole week. Of course, trying to make it through that super tough qualifier race last night where you had to be in the top two, and then honestly making it to the end of this 150-lap brawl with a pretty clean-looking race car, I think, compared to most of the guys around you.
Oh well, man, the crazy thing is I was at my buddy Hunter's house last night. Mom told me the roads were going to be bad. I couldn't go. So I hopped on and run the heat race and made it. And I was like, well, shoot, we got a chance tomorrow. And I had a lot of help from Caden Honeycutt last night on the restarts. I got to thank him for that to help me get in the race. But I didn't even plan on running this. Now I won $1,000.
What was different, of course, in this 150-lap feature compared to kind of that sprint style of last night? And why do you think you were able to get that 54 machine up to the front and getting the money?
Last night was just you'd have a couple people in your heat that started really good, and then you had a couple people out there that were just really off the pace. And last night I was just a field of basically a lot of 40 people. I mean, I think qualifying or in practice at one point, like 5th to 40th something was like 0.2 of a difference. It was just a really close field.
We appreciate you giving us the time here to chat, and we'll let you go off and enjoy the money, Jackson. Thanks for participating in this, and thanks for chatting. Congratulations. Well, that's your P2 finisher in this one. We'll continue on down the road chasing it. This is going to be a good one. Race leader into 3 and 4 on the last lap. It'll be a P3 at the end of it all. You're chatting with Daniel Silvestri.
Yeah, I think this is kind of the interview that people were kind of tuning in and still on the broadcast to hear from. Daniel Silvestri, man, obviously a wild race. Started 15th and made your way to the front late in the race after Clampett and a couple of other guys get together racing for it. When you're going down the backstretch on the last lap, knowing what is at stake here, were you expecting what was coming, or were you kind of getting ready for it, or what was your strategy heading into 3 right there?
I think we all knew it was coming. I think the payout is so split up. So, because, like first is 7,500, 750 for third. So, when there's that much of a payout split, you have to do what you have to do. And I respected Parker. He didn't kill me there. And, we worked together a little bit during the race. And I know he said in his interview that, he respects me a lot. So we raced each other well. And, that's what's going to happen at these short track like that. I mean, I was just really glad to be where I was. I think, at the start of the race, there's a few things. I had to grab my fast repair like before lap 20. I had to take my first set of tires before lap 20, and I made what I could. I made with what I could there, and ran like 70 or 80 laps on a set of tires that give me track position that I needed. So it worked out better than I thought it would at the start of the race.
Now, what are the emotions right now? Obviously, had about 5 minutes or so to decompress. I'm sure you've maybe talked to Parker while we were talking to Jackson there. What are the emotions at the moment? Are you upset? Are you feeling good? I mean, obviously, third place against, what was it, a lot of 650 entries. Obviously, that's pretty darn good, but I'm sure you're going to lay down when your head hits the pillow tonight. You're going to be either dreaming about this or thinking about it for the next couple days, like what could have been. I almost had 7,500.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to look it over. I think simply put, it all goes down to that restart. I wanted to get a better restart than I did. I wanted to get a better jump than I did. I wasn't able to do that. I'm simply put and probably wish that I could have crossed the checkered first. I was hoping to go to Florida with a legend car during February, so that money would have paid for that. But I think we're just going to move on, and I think this was still a great event, and is helping out a lot of people that are trying to to make it in this sport, and it obviously takes a lot of money. So I appreciate the people who put this together to hand out the money like that.
No doubt about it. Well, Daniel, it was a lot of fun to watch you, man. There was a ton of people cheering you on that were hoping for kind of an underdog story here tonight, and it nearly came together. But a solid third place run. I'm sure you got some people you want to say thanks and say hi to.
Yeah, I just gotta thank the people in real life that have helped me. I gotta thank I run for Sellers Burton Racing in real life in a late model stock car, and those guys have taught me a lot that have moved me into creating a racer that I am today. I gotta thank drivers like Jed Burton and a few people that have helped me get better. I gotta thank some of the team guys that have helped me out. I gotta thank Duke Matthews Racing. All those guys have really worked with me and got me better. And I always feel like when we get to these events, if I put enough practice into it and I really put into it, I can always compete with the guys that are either pros or have those really high I ratings. So I know if I put that practice in, I'm one of the fastest there. So I think we proved that today.
Well, Daniel Silvestri ends up in the third spot here tonight, Evan, after leading the race, as you mentioned, heading into turn number 3 on the final lap, but ultimately comes home in the third spot in that number 97 machine. But a ton of fun to watch, and he definitely played a part in this one. And I think if this ERA deal keeps going for years to come, and we look back on this very first event, I think all of us can say that we were glad to be here.
Well, yeah, and I know that's certainly the plan, and you hear the drivers thanking all of their partners. Of course, I'll bring Jesse, Matt, and Sean, and everybody else at ERA that's still with us, guys. I'll just hand things back over to you to thank everybody that has allowed you to make this happen, and kind of let people know if they tuned in and watched this, how do I get involved when the next one happens?
Yeah, for sure. So big thanks to all who have helped make this happen. Race Spot, thank you so much for the broadcast. It was an awesome broadcast. Thank you to all the viewers out there who watched, and thank you to all the racers who competed. We had 650 or so folks register for the event and compete for this money, and it was really awesome to see. We definitely plan on doing more events. The goal right now is to do at least 4 big events for next year. We haven't determined exactly what the prize pot's going to be for all of them. Maybe it'll be more, maybe it'll be the same, maybe it'll be a little bit less, maybe it'll be a mix of products and cash. We'll find out, but we're still working out all the kinks. It wasn't easy to put this on at all, but we had a lot of fun doing it, and I'm excited to put on a lot more coming in 2021 and beyond. Matt?
I think he's still enjoying the replay of the finish with that popcorn that he was talking about earlier.
I'll chime in. Jesse, I have to echo your words, man. It's been an absolute blast the last 2 nights watching these folks.
Jesse, man, I know your love for the sport, and this was, man, I was jumping around the house. It was cool to hear.
Looks like his computer was a little bit laggy on that one. But, Sean, what were you saying?
I just said I have to concur, man. It's been an absolute blast watching all these drivers do battle around Nashville. It came down to something we knew it was going to come down to. And one of the things that I do want to point out is the absolute graciousness that the top 3 showed in those interviews, and the sportsmanship that they showed after being out there doing battle the way they did for 150 laps. Just goes to show how amazing these folks are, and all of y'all that are involved in iRacing and sim racing in general and real racing in the real world. It's the sportsmanship and the people that keep us coming back, and we so appreciate everyone tuning in and showing up to race at this our inaugural event. We can't wait to do it again. We'll turn it back over to you, Jesse. I'm beat, man.
Most definitely. It was really fun. I had a good time. But yeah, we'll be putting on more events for all the viewers out there, anyone still watching or anybody who's going to watch between now and the next few days who maybe didn't watch tonight. Make sure you follow eRacing Association on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. We're on all the social media platforms. Just look up eRacing Association. It's really simple. Check us out. Head to our website. Our website is eragaming.gg. So head there, follow us, sign up for our email list. We're going to be letting everyone know when the next event is. Follow us so that we can continue to keep you updated. We're going to have a lot of highlights from this race that we're going to be posting over the next few weeks. And yeah, the big thing is to get ready for the next one. We already know what the next track's going to be. It's going to be Daytona, and it's going to be in February. So let's get ready for that one.
No better way, I think, to get the 2021 racing calendar kicked off and chase, as you mentioned, maybe an event to look back on in several years. But not only a great race tonight, but not, a great week, I think, altogether. But our qualifiers last night with the main event here tonight, and happy to have had you on the call with us.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and to be completely honest with you, this is the first pavement race I've ever announced on iRacing.com, and it turned out to be an absolute barn burner. So really, really happy that Hugo and everybody behind the scenes, Randy and Tyler and Arjuna, asked me to be on the program here tonight, and it was a lot of fun. And I really hope I can come back and do it again at Daytona, because after tonight, man, I'm kind of hooked on this eRacing Association Omega Cup stuff, man. It's really, really fun. A lot of stuff at stake, and Evan, it was a blast, and hopefully we do it again.
And happy that all of you tuning in at home joined us for this one. But until next time, that's it for us here tonight for the virtual Nashville Fairground Speedway. So on behalf of the entire team at the eRacing Association, of course, we talked to them all night long. A big thanks, Jesse Awuji, Matt Casto, Sean Yoder, everybody else for putting it on and spending time at the broadcast booth with us tonight. And, of course, for our team behind the scenes at RaceSpot TV, for Hugo Luis, Virginia Conkipati, you've also got Randy Chennett down there, Tyler Maxson, for Chase Rodman and myself, Evan Pasoko. I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Parker Etzlaff, the 2020 ERA Winter Bowl champion.